Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Poland Daily History. Today we will be talking to Mr. Artur Górniewski, a tour guide who receives hundreds of international guests every year who all yearn to learn more about Polish history. Together we will explore the locations he takes them on in Warsaw, Poland, and Central Eastern Europe. What an absolute pleasure to have you here, Artur. And before we start, let's introduce you to the audience. And if you can tell me a little bit about your job, what you do as a tour guide, and what are the more historical elements during your tour for foreigners.
What an absolute pleasure to be invited, Ben. Thank you very much. I'll be glad to tell you about my profession in Poland Daily History. So yes, as a tour guide, it's a pleasure of mine. It's my legacy, it's my duty, it's my shift to host hundreds of guests from all around the world, to tell them about amazing history of Poland and amazing history of Europe in Polish context. Why not?
Right.
There were moments in Polish history when our dynasty, Jagiellonian dynasty, was ruling not only Poland but also Czechia, Hungary, up to Adriatic Sea, so Croatia, and the historic sites of Poland and Warsaw. These are things that are very important for me, but also what's most important is for a guest, for a tourist, to feel nice and comfortable during their holidays.
Of course. And if you were to put it into a historical context, coming from the point of view as a Polish history guide in that sense, what are some of more major things that you usually talk about during your tours?
So what was your first feeling when you came to Poland?
Ooh, historical, old. Because
in general.
So.
Like you had something in your mind, maybe not specific, but you could have some idea. So how were your ideas faced with the reality in Poland?
Well, I didn't know much about the place before I came, so my first impression is definitely old and very different in terms of architectures from the States.
Of course.
Yeah.
And that's a very typical point of view, because what current generations think about Poland when they are on the airplane, when they are booking the tickets, it's two things are taken under consideration.
Right.
So communism and Holocaust.
Okay.
Communism, Holocaust, and World War II. So these are major things that that guests from all around the world are taken under consideration. So when they come to Warsaw, when they book their tour at the concierge of Bristol, Raffles, Europejski, Marriott, Victoria Sofitel, Intercontinental, Polonia Palace Hotel, when they come over there and they book a tour, I would like to show them first the Royal Łazienki Garden.
Right.
The Royal Łazienki
Beautiful
Park.
place.
It's a beautiful place which presents eclectic architecture, eclectic gardening style, so eclectic history of Poland.
Right.
So what we get to know first, that Poland represents amazing combination. And the word combination is something that describes Poland when it comes to our architecture, when it comes to our culture as well. It's an amazing mixture. The best example I like to provide over there is the history of André Lebrun, who provided the sculptures in the Royal Łazienki Garden. He was hired by King Poniatowski, whose property it was. And André Lebrun was a student of Jean-Baptiste Pigalle. André Lebrun provided two sculptures in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. André Lebrun was awarded by French and Italian kings, and then he was recommended to be hired as a sculptor of King Poniatowski by Madame Goffrin. She was a very important person in Paris. She was running her own saloon, so it was like he was a very important politician over there. And then, according to her recommendation, Polish king hired this guy who came to Poland and changed his name from Andre into Andrzej, and this is what's written on his grave. So, imagine nowadays, a Polish football team is hiring Cristiano Ronaldo, who comes to Warsaw and changes his name into Christian. So the level of importance of Polish culture
Right.
was amazing in these days. So let's show it first to our guests. After 1 hour visit in the park, I will take them to territory of Jewish ghetto in Warsaw to describe them the amazing history, amazing 1,000 years history of Polish Jews, and then why not going to the Old Town, which is world's biggest precise reconstruction ever, the only one UNESCO heritage site element that's reconstructed. It's not very big because when Warsaw was constructed, our capital was in Krakow, so if we spend over there 45 minutes, we'll get to know about the roots of this city. So 3 places at the beginning: Royal Łazienki Garden, Ghetto, and the Old Town. This is what I need in 3 hours in a group or a private tour to tell you about, to present you general idea and history of Warsaw.
After a couple of hours of sightseeing, it's time for Mr. Górniewski to take his guests out for lunch. Warsaw has a number of places where it's possible to dine in very historical settings. Next up, we will talk to Mr. Górniewski about where to eat and what other historical places to take his guests. So that sounds like a very eventful 3 hours, first 3 hours for first impression. But I was wondering, if after being given such a wonderful tour, if the guests want to see anything more, if you would take them somewhere else to see more of Warsaw.
Of course, that's what I will do after we have a lunch, right?
Yeah, of course.
So, and there are amazing places like Koszyki. Koszyki was a marketplace constructed in Warsaw in late 1800s by Russian mayor of Warsaw, Sokrates Starynkiewicz. He developed Warsaw in an amazing way by constructing Hala Mirowska, Hala Gwardi, Hala Koszyki. These are like, when you travel in Budapest, there is such a big marketplace, and which is a breakfast, dinner place as well.
Sure.
So we have pretty similar places in Warsaw. Some of them are posh, where restaurants are very elegant, but still you will not spend more than 12 euros for a very nice lunch over there. Then you can visit a regular marketplace of Hala Mirowska, or enjoy street food in Hala Gwardi. So after such brief regeneration, we can continue. Where to go? If my guests are about sightseeing more of king's luxurious interiors, then Polish Versailles is what we call Wilanów. Wilanów was the summer residence of our 17th century king, which is original, not destroyed, and it's a very Roman style. So as far as Łazienki was a Greek Roman style, with French and English romantic style gardening, then Wilanów is much more sophisticated. So we will enjoy over there Italian, Japanese gardens, and also beautiful French gardening as well, with an orangery, of course. Okay, so that's Wilanów. But then they ask me, so hey Art, so you have a river in your city? And yes, indeed we have a river, but if I may once again refer to Budapest, then Warsaw is not like Budapest, Warszawa. Mostly we have this one side of the river called Praga district, which has always been mostly residential area, but during World War II it was only 27% destroyed. So that the most important part of the river was 90% destroyed. But 27% of Praga enable our today's guests to take a look at the original industrial urban planning of Warsaw. And also, this is where Roman Polanski used one of the streets to provide shots of a movie, The Pianist, an Oscar movie. There is a zoo as well. And whenever we go in Warsaw, we must remember that 40% of our beautiful city is covered with trees and green areas. So once upon a time, Berlin, considered as the green city of Europe, is only 25% green, and Warsaw 40% of green. So almost on every single step, we can enjoy some beautiful park or an avenue or just a perfect place to take a picture together.
As we have seen today, traveling is an integral part of learning history. Through the eyes of a tourist, given historical context by a guide, we were able to learn the events that shaped Poland and its culture. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and I'll see you next time on Poland Daily History.